Oh hey, didn't see you there. Hallo zusammen and willkommen bei another installment of Thomas Does Germany. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of the Arriving in Your Host Country 2-part series, focusing on what you do once you've arrived in your room, how you get set up to a long-term stay here, and everything you'll need to know so that you're ready to experience your time abroad. I'll go ahead and make a disclaimer right now. This episode will be a little more focused on Germany. I'm going to mention Germany a lot because that's where I went to study abroad. That's where I got settled in. But it should be fairly applicable to other countries or even other continents than Germany. But if you are going to Germany, especially specifically Freiburg, then you're in luck because you're going to be getting a lot of really good tips on how to get settled in. So, you've arrived in your host country, you're in your new apartment, and you've unpacked your luggage. Well, good gemacht. You've already done so much. Take a second to revel in it. Okay, what do you do now? Good question. That's exactly what we're going to be addressing in today's video. Things like setting up your cell phone, getting Wi-Fi in your room, securing your visa, and setting up your apartment and everything so that you're ready to stay abroad for a long time. A lot of these things aren't covered in your typical study abroad video, and I find that they become very serious problems very fast. So therefore today, we're going to address them so that you're ready to enjoy your time and you have no stress on your shoulders. So let's go ahead and cover probably the most important one first, which is using the public transport system, because you'll probably be using this to accomplish most of your goals on this list. I find that as an American coming to Europe, it's often a very big culture shock on how comprehensive the public transport here can be. I mean, coming from a country where only the biggest cities have any kind of comprehensive public transport system, it can often be really overwhelming of like, how do I use all this? How do I figure out the routes and stuff like that? But I promise that once I break it down, it's very simple. And even if you plan on getting a bike, which I highly recommend, you're starting to use it until you can figure out how to buy one. So let's get started. So let's start with the tram. Most cities will have trams that run all around the city, connecting the major different quarters and parts of the city. They're fairly easy to understand. Basically, most trams will have multiple lines, usually named after their numbers, like the 1 line, the 2 line, the 3 line, so on and so forth. And all of those lines will head 2 directions. Those directions will either be named after the general direction of where that tram goes to in town, or the last stop of that tram. So, for example, here in Freiburg we have the 3, which goes towards the Howdy and Verbahn. And by using those, you can get to all the different stops that go along the tram. And other tram lines then intersect with those lines that are already running. Therefore, through this system of intersecting lines and different stops and different destinations, you can pretty much get to most major areas of the city. So, let's start with the trams because they are fairly simple and they usually are the major method of public transport in every city in Europe. So, basically, every city has a certain number of tram lines which are usually named after their respective number. Example being the 1 line, the 2 line, the 3 line, so on and so forth. And each of those lines travels in 2 directions, each direction being named after either the last stop of this tram line or the general area of town they head towards. For example, here in Freiburg, we have the 3 line, which goes towards the Howdy or Verbahn, which are both areas of town, like quarters of town, the names of those. Each line, at some point, will go through the inner city, so they all have like a central meeting point. Ours here, they have 2, one in the inner city and one at the main train station. And also all the lines will intersect other lines at some point. So therefore, through the system of all these different stops and intersecting lines and stuff like that, you can pretty much get to almost any major part of the city with enough transfers, enough waiting time. So here, I'll try to describe an example for you. So, I used to take the tram sometimes from where my first apartment was in Freiburg to my girlfriend's apartment in Littenweiler, which is another part of Freiburg. Basically, it would go like this. I would go from my apartment, walk to the nearest tram stop, or as we call it in Germany, Haltestelle, and I would take the 3 towards the Howdy until I got to the stop called Bertelsbrunnen. At this stop, it was one of the main stops where all the tram lines intersect. I would transfer to the 1 going towards Littenweiler, and I would take that until the end of the line there. And from there, I'd walk another 10 minutes or so. So that's kind of an example of how a tram ride would work in any major city. And it seems a little weird at first with the transfers and whatnot, but once you've done it once or twice, you'll be a pro and you realize that it's like super easy. You will have to purchase yourself a ticket. Usually there are just terminals staying around. You go in, say adult, 1 ticket, blah blah blah, and it will print one out for you and you get stamped. And usually they're good for a certain amount of time, different prices. I think the one in Freiburg here for just a single ride is $2.30 or something like that. Or also, if you're planning to use your public transport for the same period of time, there are deals with most lines where you can buy a ticket that lasts for a whole month, or sometimes for students you can get a special deal where it lasts the whole semester. But usually your advisors will inform you of that, just like they did with me. There's another thing is that you'll realize that you technically won't get checked for your ticket every time you ride. Some people like to try to take advantage of this and just don't buy a ticket and ride for free. In Germany we call that riding schwarz or riding black, but it's kind of risky because at least here in Freiburg the fine for that can be upwards of 70 or 80 euros. So I always say it's worth just paying that $2.30 right there so that you don't have to risk paying 70 or 80 euro, because sometimes people that check you wear normal clothes and they spring on you like an undercover cop or something like that. So you gotta be careful because it's not fun to lose 70 euros for just doing something stupid like that. So, you may be asking where do all the buses come into play with this? It's a very good question. Usually the buses will just fill in the gaps, so that the trams really can't cover, because of course the trams can only run on rails where there's like electric wiring above and stuff like that. And you'll find that with the buses included with the trams, you can pretty much get almost any exact place within like about 10 minutes of anywhere in the city if you wait long enough. So it's very interesting. What I also wanted to say was that the easiest way to get used to using the public transport system is that most public transport services these days provide an app. For instance, the VLG here in Freiburg has the VLG Freiburg app, and you can download it and you can just use it like Google Maps, where you go, I'm starting here, I need to get to here, and it will tell you with a little map like what every little tram line you have to take and stuff like that. And although Google Maps does the same thing, I find the apps that come from the actual providers to be a lot more in detail and reliable, because they are constantly updating and whatnot. So yeah. Now that you're mobile, let's go ahead and start getting that to-do list checked off. The first thing you're probably going to want in our connection creative society is a functioning SIM card. As you'll find out, no, your American SIM card will not work here unless you want to give the phone company your literal arm and leg for cost. So you're going to need to figure out how to get a separate phone plan here. And how does one do that? Well, it depends. For me, for example, it was a bit more difficult because my American phone was already in a contract and it was SIM locked, meaning I couldn't just get a new SIM card, put it in my phone. It wouldn't work like that because, you know, life's never easy. So I had to get a whole new phone, but luckily I met a really cool guy here and he had just an old one laying around that worked enough, so he gave it to me for free. Look at her. She's beautiful, isn't she?
She's ugly!
Well, the point is that it worked. The other three options for finding a phone could be you can go to a local service provider here, like a local, they have shops just like Verizon or AT&T back home, and you can probably work out a deal with them to get a new phone and also a SIM plan while you're at it. Sometimes you can get very good deals, but just make sure that you don't get hassled too hard for being a foreigner. Another thing you can do is go to like your local media market, it's like a technology store, and there sometimes you can find some pretty good deals on phones. They even have sales sometimes and stuff like that for a pretty decent iPhone you can use while you're here. Not an iPhone, a smartphone, but you know what I mean. And the other option, if you have no money like me, is to just try to look on eBay and buy one used and hope that it works well. Sometimes you can also get very good deals this way. But if you're going to go the eBay route, then make sure you look at the reviews of whoever's selling it so that you don't get sold something that doesn't work. So, a pro German tip, if you happen to be spending your time in Germany, is there is this great version of eBay just in Germany called eBay Kleinanzeigen. And it's basically just for like local things. It's kind of like Craigslist. You can view stuff that's being sold in your local area, such as a used phone, and you can actually meet with the person and try the phone out before you get sent to you and already paid the money. eBay Kleinanzeigen is also good for finding a bike or finding furniture or all kinds of stuff like that, so it's great to check out once you've got it. Remember that if you do have to get a new phone like I did, that at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be the best phone ever. I mean, this barely functions, it's extremely old, but I've never had too much of a problem using it here as my main phone. It doesn't need to be super fast or anything, as long as it has maps, it can connect to WhatsApp, and you can get in contact with people or friends, then really that's all you need to enjoy your time here. And plus, if it's not so fast about loading Snapchat or Reddit or Facebook or something like that, then maybe you'll spend more of your time abroad with your head up experiencing things instead of your head tucked away in your phone, missing out on all the great time you're going to have here. And as for the SIM card, for either your new phone or for your old phone, if you're lucky and it's not SIM locked like mine was, I would suggest just either using Howdy or Lidl Talk. Yes, like supermarkets, they also are service providers, and they're extremely affordable. You just go on the website, you register, they send you a new SIM card, and then you just pay for your plan each month. It can be like €8 for like all the data and etc. you need for the month. And they're fairly simple, and it's really good connectivity. It's just as simple as getting the SIM card in the mail. You go on an app where you do a short video chat with an employee and show, hey, this is me, this is my ID, this person, and then the SIM card works again. And it's that simple. That would be my biggest suggestion for the SIM card. And then, once you've gotten that, you can navigate around in your city, meet up with friends, and make important calls. Boom, you have a cell phone. So far, we focused on things to help you while you're out and about. But what about on the home front? Of course, while you're here, you're going to be wanting to spend as much time as you can experiencing things and having fun as much as humanly possible. But everyone still needs their days to just lay in bed all day and watch Netflix or maybe get some coursework done. And so the question becomes, how do you get Wi-Fi in your new apartment? The first thing you can try is possibly ask your flatmate who lives in the next room to you if they'd be willing to share a router with you. I don't know how it will be in your apartment, but here in Germany, every apartment I've been in so far, it shares a singular bandwidth throughout the whole apartment, but the only thing really stopping the whole WG from using the same router is how far this singular router will reach. So if you're lucky and your neighbor is cool, then maybe you guys can just share one together rather than having to buy each of your own router. So if you're not so lucky that works out for you, then your easy solution will just to be going out to your local media market again and picking up a cheap router there for yourself. Being that it's just for yourself really, it does not have to be that fancy. Anything from like 10 to 20 euros would work just fine. And bam, you bring it home, plug it into your Ethernet port, set it up, and you have Wi-Fi. It's actually very, very simple. I don't know why I thought it was so complicated when I first came here, but I promise you it's not. I think the hardest part of it, and the thing that'll take the longest, is finding a funny name for your router. So, the last topic for today, and one that you're probably quite worried about, is getting your visa. Now, if you're new to traveling and your whole family's from one country, the idea of visas may be quite new to you, as they were to me. But I promise you that you're very lucky, because as a student, it's usually not that difficult to get a visa. Usually your advisors will help you with this. They'll probably have a meeting with you when you first come there and tell you all the different documents you need. Usually stuff like your uni contract, your apartment contract, some passport photos of you and stuff like that. And it's fairly simple. And usually they'll even set up an appointment for you with the local, in Germany we call them Ausländerbehörde, so that you can go there and do your visa appointment. The biggest advice for this would be to put all these documents into a single sheet protector so that they're all there ready. It's very professional, very orderly, and it should get you through it. Like I said before, if you're in Germany, these institutions are called the Ausländerbehörde. It's basically the office for anyone trying to get visas renewed or statuses and stuff like that. And it handles everyone from students to migrants to refugees. So yeah, Like I said before, if you're lucky, pretty much it's standard, your advisors will schedule an appointment for you. Just make sure you have all your documents ready by this appointment time. Show up on time for the appointment and have your appointment number ready. Basically, you just sit in the lobby and wait for your appointment number to come up on the TV screen, and usually you can chat with the other study abroad students that are also having appointments that day. And let me just give you a big tip here. If it takes a while for them to see you, don't worry. It's very normal. It could take upwards of 45 minutes after your official appointment is to actually be seen. And all I have to say is welcome to the wonderful thing known as German bureaucracy. There's a big myth that all Germans are super punctual and super time-oriented and stuff like that, and that is exactly what I just called it, a myth. It is not true whatsoever, and it is the farthest from the truth in any kind of German office. So you'll get your first taste of it when you go get your visa done, and just be patient. Bring a book if you want to. I will warn you about the Ausländerbehörde. It can be quite an intimidating experience. They're usually poorly decorated, gray, drab kind of institutions. There are all these beefy security guards in there who look very mean. And they will not speak English to you if your German fails. They will actually be really rude to you if your German fails. I'll go ahead and warn you. But don't worry, they're used to having students come in. As long as you show up on time, you have all your documents, and you do what they say, there should be no problem with you walking out of there with the visa that will last the entire duration of your stay. So, we come to the end of another video, my friends. I hope that you've all learned something and that you're a little less intimidated by the whole process being settled in. If you are having anxiety about it, I will tell you that it's grounded. It can be a difficult process sometimes, and I would definitely say, and anyone will tell you, these first 2 to 3 weeks that you're here while you're abroad will be the most difficult weeks of your experience. If not, sometimes can be some of the most difficult weeks of your life. I almost want to give up, many people do, but I promise you that you can definitely handle it. Just stick through it, get settled in, make a few friends, and suddenly you realize you'll start having some of the greatest times of your life, and it's so worth that struggle that happens the first few weeks while you're here. Just stick with it, trust me. So, if I've left anything out that you guys would like to know, or you'd like more detail about, feel free to leave a comment below, or just PM me, I'd love to help you. Besides that, I would just say this has been Thomas Germany, and until next time, auf Wiedersehen.